What is up, Skillfully Nation? I'm your host, Skillfully. Let's get right into the news.
No.
Okay, so I'm gonna leave.
No.
Cut that.
Yeah, what the fuck was that, John?
Oh,
Jesus Christ.
That was me making fun of Drama Alert.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, it's...
Sorry.
I don't know.
Alright, well, welcome to Scare Your Friends. The only podcast on the internet that is more unprofessional than anything, I guess. I couldn't even think of anything there. I am joined by my two friends, Dylan and Dan.
Yes, you heard that right. Two.
Just two.
Nate's doing another band show tonight, and William's in another state somewhere. So
William is playing Connect games in Massachusetts.
He has me to thank for that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna do a quick
Michael
episode here, and I guess I will mention it. I've mentioned this on the Discord a few times, but I was really disappointed because we recorded a 13th episode. And I can't get into it for various software reasons that I'm not going to get into right now. Don't say anything about the software.
You said not for us to not say anything, but
unless I brought it up.
Unless you brought it up, which you did. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to let you know. I want this on the record that it was probably the most professional sounding podcast we ever did, and it's gone. So there you fucking go.
And that is the life of this channel and everything else. So we're going to read a very quick creepypasta. One that I recently heard. Because there's only two people here and it's just one of these three-person shows, I feel like I could be a little more lax with the professionalism.
One of these
even
three-person
more
shows that we do so frequently.
You mean the first one we're doing ever?
Yeah, with you two.
That was the joke.
Yes.
Still, thank you.
But today we are going to be reading Dusty's radio show.
Dusty Rose radio show?
Dusty Rose radio show.
No, Dusty's radio show.
That's Dustin.
I know.
Dusty.
I know.
So obviously, this creepypasta will be about
a wrestler.
Radio shows.
What the hell did you say?
A wrestler. A wrestler. Dusty Rhodes.
Dusty Rhodes is
Hold
a
on.
wrestler.
Let me give you a minute to explain that. I say the title Dusty's radio show, you come up with wrestler.
Dusty Rhodes.
Dusty Rhodes was a wrestler.
And he has his own radio show.
It's Dusty's radio show.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dusty Rhodes.
He has his own radio show.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't follow wrestling. Okay,
and
well...
he has a son. He has two sons, Goldust and Stardust. I'm not joking.
Wrestling's great, guys, man.
Well, Stardust is not part of the company anymore.
That's true.
And Dusty's dead.
Welcome to the WWE podcast.
That's the only podcast on the internet that's more fake than the WWE.
Aha!
Gotcha.
All right.
Let's read about Dusty's radio show.
Okay.
This will be quick, but let's
he
do it.
Yeah.
About a year ago, I frequented one of those sites where people post a variety of funny pictures, videos, and all kinds of stupid internet memes. I didn't do much after school besides sitting on my computer, wasting time back then. Sometimes I would browse the newest upload section of the site, looking for pictures that might give me a quick laugh or smile. My internet connection was slow and laggy, so I always skipped over posts of videos, being too impatient to wait for any of them to buffer, just to see some 30-second clip of a guy getting hit in the crotch or whatever. But there was this one time I made an exception. That was a really long sentence, man.
Run on sentences like this.
That's alright. I spotted a video titled Radio Host Prank Call, which quickly captured my interest. I figured something like that was worth waiting a minute or so to watch.
Internet. Yay.
So it said
John Cena.
WWE.
Well, there was a radio prank that they did with John Cena, so that's why I thought it comes full circle. Yeah. Anyway, all right. So I'm guessing this is set in the past. If his internet's that slow, he can't fucking buffer 30 seconds.
Or he just says, or it's just Dylan's internet connection of 2016.
That's fair. That's totally fair. Oh my god,
you're one to talk. You're one to talk. Jesus.
Oh my god.
Mine's fast, except for Xbox. I'm telling you, it only lags on Xbox.
So, but you're bitching because all three of us are on our mobile devices, and that's why it's slow.
No, I'm just saying that it's possible for somebody to have laggy internet connection before.
Not for 30
it's
seconds.
It's like saying I have dial-up. That's
maybe.
basically.
Okay, so maybe this happened in the past. It's not really said. Okay, so Dan, why don't you take over here?
The video clip turned out to be audio only with a black screen for the entire duration. I probably should have expected that considering the post title did say it was a radio host. The man in the video who was being prank called ran an internet radio show called The Real Eagle, where he apparently spent a few hours twice a week ranting about how white people were the only real Americans and other racist bullshit like that.
Donald Trump.
It's like our discussion this morning or earlier today at Burger King.
What? No, don't say that. You're going to get that really out of context. No. We did not talk about white people and how we were the only people. That's not what we talked about.
No, the real Americans are the Native Americans.
They're not around anymore.
Well, that's us white people.
Thank you, Andrew Jackson.
Hey! They're taking back one casino.
Here we go.
We always like to joke here. I don't want to offend anybody.
Yeah, we are the furthest thing from racist.
Trust me.
Yeah. The guy sounded kind of old, maybe in his 40s or 50s, and talked in a low, sort of grumbly tone. He also went by the alias Dusty. Not surprising that he wouldn't use his real name. But what was mainly important here was that during the last 20 minutes of every show, he would do a segment where he started accepting phone calls from the audience.
So it's an internet live stream show, is what it sounds
like.
Well,
I don't think it's a live show. I think it's a
well, I mean, because if it's on the internet, right, and he's accepting live calls.
Oh, internet radio show, okay. Yeah.
So like an internet radio show. Yeah. I mean, that's definitely possible with them. Okay. So that's why I don't.
So maybe not. Maybe that's this kid just lives in the fucking ghetto somewhere.
That's why I was saying earlier about this taking place in like the past. I guess. I mean, I guess it's. I don't really know much about the internet of the past. So maybe I don't know. I mean, this could have taken place, I guess, early on the day. I mean, you don't need much to do a radio show, like a live stream radio show. It doesn't even show your face. You just need audio. So
kind of like a podcast.
No, because our podcast isn't live. You know?
It could.
Radio's alive.
That's the next step.
All right.
Needless to say, it was hilarious. Every single call the guy received was a joke, and let me tell you, it made the guy pissed. Sure, the jokes. Oh, Jesus Christ! Sure, the jokes the callers pulled on him were pretty lame, but it was Dusty's reaction that made it so entertaining. At one point, towards the end of the show, you could hear him throw something at the wall and curse far away from the mic, as if he was about to leave the room in his anger.
See, I don't want to take sides on this, but I mean, the guy fucking had it coming. Let's be real here, you know.
But
I think that's the point. Yes.
Right,
but
like
also
you don't open. I know. Well, as professionals, you could be with an internet radio show.
So this guy does a. Well, I'm gonna go on a limb here, big limb here, guys. So he does this racist radio show on the internet.
That's true.
And when he accepts calls from people,
right? How stupid
he gets?
He's basically asking for it.
Yeah, you're getting. Yeah,
I totally forgot. I know we just touched on that, but I totally forgot about that racist part.
Yeah,
that's so. Maybe he does deserve it.
You can't always get
what you want, dude. Guys,
copyright.
Do you want to keep going?
Always get the John, please.
Okay.
Wow. After I had seen the video, I started visiting Dusty's webpage at a radio blogging site to listen to the show live. Even without the barrage of prank calls, it was funny enough just to listen to his idiotic rants on their own. He would say crap like, "We need to purge the blacks and Mexicans from our soil."
What does that sound like?
Shit.
Almost on a daily basis. The site had a chat room box on the side, where everyone that visited mocked the hell out of him during the broadcast. Dusty never paid any attention to it, though. The site he hosted his show off of had a chat box for every individual broadcast by default, so I guess he either never noticed or just didn't care. I spent the next few months listening to Dusty whenever he was on, every Monday and Friday. From 8 p.m. to 11 p.m., he was on the air, spouting the same nonsense with a little rewording. Despite all the prank calls he received, he would always still proceed with the phone call segment at the end of every show. You'd think by then he would have learned his lesson and call it quits, but he never did. Similarly, you could say the same thing about me. Nothing really changed over the months of me listening to Dusty, and I wasn't even one of the people that was constantly pranking him on every show. To me, listening to The Real Eagle was just another way to kill my boredom.
And then as I listened to him, I started to realize he was right.
That's the real creepypasta.
That's what I'm waiting for you. Sure, the show was funny, but it never really caught on or grossed a huge following. No shit. At most, there were maybe 150 people that tuned into the show live at once, and I could almost guarantee that every single one of them was there to mock and laugh at him. For these reasons, what happened during one particular episode took me completely by surprise. Here we go. It was the start of the last 20 minutes of the show. Everything up to that point was ordinary. My parents were out, so I had been parked on my living room couch with my laptop and headphones, listening to the pathetic rantings of Dusty, now waiting the almost routine barrage of prank phone calls from his fans. This is where things had begun to get odd. Rather than starting the last segment like he usually would, Dusty instead had gone strangely silent, and then got up, leaving the room without a word. Okay.
It got to him.
Yeah,
He cracked. Alright, several minutes had passed without a sound. Everyone in the chat room was going berserk, clearly pissed off that they weren't getting the chance to harass their favorite bigot. Some had even started leaving, most likely thinking that Dusty had simply had enough of their crap and just left them to sit there like idiots for the rest of the show. I was about to give up and leave the livestream myself until the distinct noise of a door opening sounded through over the broadcast. Curious to see what Dusty had come back for, I stopped myself from closing the window and listened. As I heard Dusty re-enter the room, there was the muffled sounds of him shouting stuff along the lines of, "Get in there," and a few different variations followed by the muted sounds of someone sobbing.
Oh, no. Oh, fuck.
I was now even more curious. Dusty had never once brought another person on the show before. Every other broadcast it had only ever been him alone doing the show. But besides the obvious questions of who this new person was, and why were they there, what concerned me more was why they were crying, and why was Dusty shouting at them in such a threatening voice. All this had caught me off guard, and I was starting to feel a sinking feeling brewing in my gut.
So what are we thinking?
I'm thinking Dusty's actually Mr. Plinkett from the Star Wars reviews. Guard my burst, man.
Wow, you went there, huh?
I did go there. Well,
59 minutes.
We can pretty much guess where this is heading, but
He obviously found one of them and tied him to a freaking...
One of
whoa,
them?
one of them!
One of
Whoa,
them!
Dylan!
Whoa, wait a minute!
Whoa! Whoa!
Whoa, that's not...
Get your mind out of the gutter!
John, you're gonna have to cut that.
Are you serious?
I don't know how. I don't care anymore.
Talk about one of the guys who...
What? Say
prank
it.
Callers. The prank caller.
That or
handcuffed them. And
that
like,
a
come
prank
here.
caller or just a black or a Mexican Hispanic person. I would assume.
I was gonna go prank caller.
Just to make an
you
example.
Took it to the...
Well, I mean, the guy wants to be taken seriously.
Well, of course, you
so
said
what's
one
the
of
best way to
those
do that?
people, so we immediately thought maybe that was racist on our part.
I guess.
Yeah,
maybe.
you guys know that.
We need Will here to point out our moral judgment.
I guess in the end, guys, we're all a bit racist.
I guess so.
When it comes to certain circumstances.
Oh my god.
The soft crying noises grew louder as Dusty and the second person approached. The still turned-on microphone. Now closer. The crying from the other person was clearer now. The sound quality of the microphone Dusty used for his show was far from great, and you can only hear him clearly when he talked directly into the microphone. But I could still tell that the person was a woman. Between her cries, I can hear her softly plead. "Please," she begged. "Stop it."
Oh, he's gonna rape her.
Okay.
Or
Well, I mean, that might be a little too dark, but okay.
Wow.
You say that's dark, but I mean, for
It's
a guy
pretty
like this,
fucking dark.
a guy like
Well,
this, I mean, come on,
all right.
rape and pillage the people. Okay.
Well, okay. I wasn't sure at first due to the scratchy audio, but it sounded like the woman had an accent of some kind. I couldn't tell you which, but I think you can understand why that would be relevant to mention. All right, that was clever on the author's part. Before my head could fill itself with any more questions, Dusty himself began speaking into the mic with the same threatening, authoritative tone he had just ordered the woman in. "This is the purge!" In this beautiful land we live in, filthy bastards like these wander in and taint the progress of true Americans. Oh boy. His words were nothing different from anything else I've heard him say in previous shows, but hearing him say them in the current circumstances carried a sense of dread with it. I was more than a little unsettled at this point. I was greatly reconsidering the option of leaving the broadcast. I fucking would. Yeah. The chat box, which was usually flooding with heckling at the show's host, had noticeably decreased in activity. I imagine that everyone was most likely focusing directly on what was happening on the show right now.
Dusty continued on, speaking more nonsense about a pure race, and how he would cleanse the U.S. of all who dared to taint it. I can't fully recall everything he said at that point, as I was more focused on the sounds of the woman crying. This went on for a few moments with me listening attentively, hoping that everything was going to be okay and that this woman was not actually in any kind of danger. Suddenly, Dusty's rant came to an abrupt stop and was immediately followed by a loud clicking noise. The woman began screaming in reaction, her yells gaining an echo as she ran away wherever the microphone was placed. Her pleading words from earlier were now intensified and desperate, now loud enough to be picked up by the mic at a distance. Please, don't do this. Just stop. He has a gun. He's got to have a gun.
That's probably...
You hear a loud click noise. That's safety coming off.
America.
God.
That was when it hit me. I couldn't tell at first due to the previously mentioned audio quality issues, but that clicking noise must have been the cocking of a gun.
There you go.
Dusty was going to shoot this woman.
Okay. Let me. I'm just going to throw this in.
I know.
We could have guessed that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that wasn't necessary.
Yeah, it's 2 sentences that or 3 sentences that you didn't have to. But
Right.
Whatever.
That
if
paragraph
this
could have
ends
been cut.
in, I got you guys. I'm gonna be.
Are you saying it's going to end with "It's just a prank, bro"?
That would be
where
honestly,
it sounds like
that would be
he
great.
where he shot her but didn't really shoot her.
My mind did not want to fully accept the belief that this woman was in serious danger, but there was no way to deny it now. This couldn't have been a prank. The woman's cries for help sounded too real. I was now convinced that Dusty had forced this woman into the location of wherever it was that wherever I don't know how I read that wrong. Wherever it was that he hosted the show from and planned to shoot her. I had completely frozen up. What the hell was I supposed to do? It wasn't as if I could just pick up the phone and call the cops. This was a radio show on the internet. There was no way they'd be able to do anything, at least not immediately anyway. Panic began to overwhelm me as I struggled to think of anything I can do. The woman's begging had suddenly grown louder. It was hard to hear over her shouting, but Dusty also began to say something. The way his voice was muffled indicated that he had his back to the mic. "You've ruined our land. You are the disease and I am the cure." Unable to do anything else, the woman once again pleaded with her attacker. "You don't have to do this," she shouted. "I won't tell anyone. Please, just let me bang." Silence.
Maxwell Silverhammer.
All the noise ceased, and the only sound I could hear was the rapid beating of my heart. The loud bang had sent a jolt through my body. Once again, I was frozen in place, not knowing what to do. And then my brain finally finished processing everything that just happened. Dusty had killed that woman. Upon this realization, my mind began to panic, and I started to try and convince myself that this was all just a dream or an elaborate hoax, all the while hearing nothing but the static buzzing of the broadcast through my headphones, with no sound coming from the gunman. I shook my head desperately, trying to remove the gruesome image of the woman's dead body in my mind. I think that's worse. Like, you hear the gunshot, and you have to process that, and then there's just dead silence. Like, that's the worst part.
Did it happen?
That's the worst part, yeah.
It's scarier for somebody to come up to you and say, "There's a dead body in your bathroom," and you don't know what it looks like, versus if you see someone getting killed.
Right, we talked about this on the podcast.
Yeah, because because your mind immediately goes to the worst possible place.
Right.
Yeah, but he's hearing it, not seeing it.
Well, he heard it. Now he's imagining a dead woman by Dusty's feet, and now it's all in his head.
Right. Should I just finish this? Or
whatever you were doing, it's fine.
You can finish it.
Okay.
It's fine.
Several more minutes of silence passed. I don't know why I didn't just close the browser. I just sat there listening, unable to do anything else. I don't know how long this continued for, but eventually some of my sense began to return to me, and I moved my mouse toward the red X in the top right corner of the screen. But then something stopped me. In that tone that sounded as if he were grinning, Dusty spoke into the microphone one last time. "They snuck into our country by the waves of the ocean. I'll make sure they'll go back, one piece at a time." I clicked and closed the browser.
And that is Dusty's radio show. What would you rate the radio show, guys?
Bloody?
Alright.
Like bloody terrible? I don't know.
The
radio show, no, I don't like it.
You're like actually rating the radio show, not the story?
I mean, that was the joke. I mean, you
Right,
could have taken
right.
it either way.
No,
This is what I like doing. This is what I'm going to start doing here. Whenever I have less people on Scare Your Friends, I'm going to start trying to do these lesser known stuff because I don't want to jump into something big without a lot of people here. And also, I like this story. I recently heard it, and when I see new creepypasta authors and stuff like that, I try to help them out. And Dusty's radio show is far from perfect. I don't think it's. I mean, it's it doesn't compare to some of the really good ones we've read here, but
it's no Jeff the Killer.
Yeah,
of course. But no, I think this is a really good idea. I think, aside from a few run-on sentences, a couple of grammar things that I would want to have fixed.
That's every fucking creepypasta.
Yeah. But I like the story a lot. Dan, what do you got to say about it?
I don't know. I wasn't a huge fan, honestly. There's nothing. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think it's evenly paced. It just didn't really hold my interest. It's not really interesting for me. Like it's just sort of playing on that, classic racist Southern stereotype.
Right, but I like it because of the idea of it. Because
right. It doesn't seem
any creepypasta that I read, where because obviously most, if not all of these, are fake.
Right.
But the ones that I do read, any of them that have a hint of realism, that thing where this could definitely happen, this could definitely happen.
Right, absolutely. But I feel like it's too.
This is like something that you would recollect to
not tropey, but just too generic in terms of the idea. I just wasn't a huge fan of this one, honestly. The biggest thing was being like, oh, I realized it was a gun. Like that paragraph. I feel like.
There's a few sentences in there that I mean.
But I think this was just too. It was just a little too bland for me, honestly. And that's not. I mean, stuff like that'll come and go. It's fine. It's written well. It's just too bland. Too bland for me, honestly.
Okay, Dylan, what do you think?
All these are recollection. They're recalling stuff that they've heard. All the stories are pretty much. This is more like if you went he sounds like later on after. He was telling an officer, this happened, and he's recalling the whole thing. It feels like more of a police report than it does a story. And it resembles that new movie that's coming out, The Purge election year.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. That's why I made that joke.
Yeah, because you hear them say purge and purify. It's that's the same thing this guy's rambling on about and stuff.
I think it's internet tropey, though, because the thing is that what happens in the story is it starts off as something that's kind of a joke. Because you hear this ranting old man, but it's funny to listen to at first. It's oh, look at this asshole.
And it's weird that this guy, it's funny to listen to, but it's weird that this guy was listening to it for such a long time, No,
I think he wasn't doing it because he agreed with him. I think he did it because he thought it was entertaining.
No, I understand that, but I don't... How many days in a row can you listen to a
Well, it's only on every Monday and Friday. It's not on every day.
I guess.
It's only on 2 days a week.
For 3 fucking hours.
Sure.
Yeah, but if you were in his situation, would you be listening to that after 2 weeks? Not even 2 weeks.
No, I wouldn't.
Well, that's all subjective though to you.
I guess.
Well, what about you?
Well, that doesn't matter what I think. I mean, I don't know what I would do if I listened to this guy, but it's what he did. You're basically
but what does that imply about the character? It implies stuff about the character that they don't say.
No,
it could be that
Dylan, I think this guy is just a bored. No, I don't agree with him. This guy is just bored. He's clearly a bored, possibly lonely individual. I don't sense any racism or even any sort of agreement from this guy. I literally think he's there because he likes hearing this guy get radio pranked. He even says that Dusty's reactions to everything was really cool and really funny to listen to. He never once says, I agreed with this man. And I know that.
But it kind of implies it when you keep listening to it. It's like, oh, right, I like to hear what this guy's saying.
I feel like after
he likes listening
to
thin. How absurd it is. He's not... I think you're looking way too deep into this. I don't think this guy listened to the show because he actually cared about what Dusty had to say. He did it because he's bored and because he likes internet funnies. I don't know.
No, listen.
On the internet, there's so many other things you can watch.
Dylan's right. This. Well, my biggest problem too is he's talking about how videos won't buffer, yet he's able to listen to a radio show for 3 hours on the internet. That's a little. Yeah. Isn't that a little?
No, not really.
Because I mean, you're still buffering audio. If his internet is that bad that it can't load a 30-second video, that's a little far-fetched to me. I'm just saying. But I don't. I'm not.
It
I'm
never
gonna just,
says that. No, it says my internet connection was slow and laggy,
Right.
so I always skipped over posts of videos, being too impatient to wait for.
But
any
if he's
of,
listening, to,
let me finish. Being too impatient to wait for any of them to buffer,
right?
just to see a 30-second. Yeah, but that's different. I'm saying that in the context of this, because first of all, to answer Dylan's point, it doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't matter that you wouldn't listen to Dusty or I wouldn't listen. This happened. These people listened to Dusty. There was 150 people or so that were listening to Dusty. That's the fact. I mean, it doesn't matter what we think.
What I'm saying is that I don't agree. I only half agree with Dylan. That I feel like after listening it to 2 or 3 times, I'd be like, oh, okay. Like, that was funny. Like, this guy's listening to me, like, it's not believable. It's not believable that he's not able to buffer 30-second videos because his internet's slow and laggy, but he's able to buffer 3 hours of live audio just fine. To me, that doesn't make any sense.
I mean,
that seems a little. And I get it. Videos require a lot more memory to buffer. But if you're listening to a 3-hour audio only show, that's still.
Well, when you listen to any sort of 3-hour audio file, it doesn't like load the whole bar. It buffers ahead of the way you're playing it. So, like, if you're on the 30-second mark, it might have only buffered to like the 2-minute mark.
Yeah, but if it's live, also, it would buffer right as you're listening.
As you're listening, he's right.
Buffer.
He's right.
Even today.
So that to me, that's not
videos.
believable. But that's.
I think you're looking too deep into this. I think that the story is good because of the horror aspect of it. That there's an actual guy who's untrackable pretty much, who killed a woman live in front of a couple people, and it's untrackable to stop him. Because in that situation, what do? You can't call the cops. Well, you can call the cops, but even if you do, they're not going to be able to stop. They're not going to be able to save this woman. What information could
you still get the guy, though?
You can only tell them that it's Dusty's radio show.
When was this
They don't know.
written?
There's no date on it.
I don't know.
So that's also a thing too, because you don't know what times, what period it is set.
It was in the period where the internet had the ability to have radio live streams. I mean, we don't know. I think that's an irrelevant point, personally.
Listen, whatever it is to me, it's just this. We've read tales from the internet style stories before, right?
Yeah, and they're really well known and popular. I've just picked one that wasn't as well known.
Right, and this one to me is the weakest, and just because it's very generic.
Yeah, because I picked it that way.
But what I'm saying is, I could still find. We could still read one that's not well known and it'll still be entertaining. I just wasn't entertained by this. I think it's just to me it just felt.
There's a lot of plot holes in it too. It's like
I don't.
There's not really.
There's no plot holes.
Dylan, there's no plot.
But like
a lot of plot holes.
The setting wasn't. The setting like really didn't like tell you when. It's just like
it doesn't need to.
Not a lot of them have though. The ones that we've read.
Yeah,
honestly.
none of them really.
That's
because the Russian sleep experiment. In fact, is the only one I can really think of that really does.
That has like a date.
There's a date and a place.
With something like this,
and even that one was just an unknown area in Russia during the 1940s.
But because he said, "Oh, you can't catch him because he's on the internet." Because if it was say today, you can catch him.
No, you can't. Dylan, you can't call... Dylan, okay, I'm going to put you in the situation of this protagonist for a second. You're listening to this radio show. You hear the woman crying, and you call the cops. What do you tell the cops?
Someone got shot.
Yeah.
But John's right, because the local police aren't going to be able to trace a fucking IP address. He's right. You would have to, that's like something...
You can't help the woman. That's the point I'm trying to make.
A local police station does not...
I know, I understand. I understand the whole...
We're not in the movies.
I know, but when we live in a day and age of all this technology, there's somewhat... Like, even online, you don't know who's listening to it.
No, but Dylan, what I'm saying is, even if you called the police, even if this took place now, and you called the police and you told them somebody just got... First of all, they're going to think you're full of shit. Second of all, even if they believe you, a local police station does not have the ability to track.
And finally, this guy's real name is not Dusty. It's not him.
Not to mention the fact that if he's out of state, there's nothing they can do.
Yeah. What do you can't do? The best you can do is report the Dusty Razor, which he probably wouldn't do anymore after this anyway.
That feeling
if he's going to go on if he's going to go on a rampage and kill a bunch of minorities.
The fear and the terror comes from that feeling of helplessness, right?
Yeah.
And it's just, to me, I've seen this done before. And so that's, to me, it was just too generic. Not even tropey. This is a relatively new idea. It's just too generic for me. It wasn't just too vanilla for me. That's all it is. No, the story isn't bad. Right. Story's not bad. It's just, I just didn't really enjoy it.
Yeah. Okay. I like the story a lot. It's not my favorite one, obviously. I'm going to give the author a shout out. His name is Pika's Prey. Pika's Prey. Good job, buddy. You wrote something that wasn't 90% of the wiki, which is just crap and Pokemon fanfic.
That's true.
But also, of course, we cannot do this. Dylan, you have to put this narrator on the Melinda scale. So now forget. Okay. No, let me explain. Forget the context of the story, just based on the actions of this person.
Wait.
But versus what Melinda did and all those other people who did, where would you put?
Are we grading the narrator? Or are we grading Dusty?
Both. Let's do both. Let's do both. Narrator first.
Fuck it.
The narrator first?
Yeah.
Okay.
It'll be say just like who did we put above Melinda?
God, I don't fucking know.
I don't remember.
Just say he's closer to Melinda
He's closer to Melinda
Charles Watts.
because he sat there, listened to it. Just listen to it. I would click. Wouldn't you have not clicked out of that?
He's right. No, Dylan's right.
Yeah,
Dylan's right.
click out of it.
I would have clicked out.
Okay, assuming.
I don't want to hear somebody dying.
Okay, I'll take Dylan's thing into account, but I'm going to put him dead in the middle. And the reason I'm going to put the narrator
neutral.
I'm going to put him in the middle because first I look at his intentions. He wants to his thoughts isn't to catch Dusty. His thoughts is to save the woman and what he can do to help the woman.
Right.
And he's trying. We don't know how old this person is. First of all, he could be like a teenager. But I mean, he wants to help the woman, so he doesn't immediately click off it. Again, I don't think he listened to this with a sick curiosity, like, ooh, what's he going to do to this woman?
Absolutely not.
I think he wanted to help. If you click off of it, now you don't know. Now you're kind of. Well, how do you go about the rest of your day now?
Right, so
you're just sitting there like, what? Oh.
Not to mention the fact that he says he was paralyzed with fear.
Yeah,
like he was trying to
Dan
process
said, there was he had a sense of helplessness. What could he do?
Right.
Because
what could he do?
Because he's always laughed at this show, and no one's ever taken it seriously.
And then now this guy's going to be
especially during the part he's looking forward to, which is the prank. The call-ins.
And maybe this is the maybe this is because if you look at the not necessarily the subtext, but of this story, but. This is probably the most interesting part because it's that age-old tale of like pushing someone until they snap. But
because the thing is, we're judging the actions of this narrator in the aftermath. Like, I would have done this.
No,
but in the moment,
it's not even that. Like this is not in terms of the narrator. I'm talking about in terms of like Dusty as a character and his motivations. Right? It's you look at
talking about the narrator, not Dusty, right now.
No. Well, I'm just gonna. To me, this is the most interesting aspect of the story because this is one of those things that it doesn't have to necessarily work on the internet, but it works better because when you hear about people that get picked on, right, and then they finally have enough and they fight back or whatever, or they attack their bullies, right. But this works. This is interesting. This is different because. Again, it's people in the anonymity of the internet, where it's like people can just shit all over this guy because they can be there's no consequences to it, right? But then an innocent person dies, so now
I like that.
Right. Now it's almost
like Dusty because now it's almost like Dusty reversed it,
right?
Because now it's like because in the same way that he couldn't do anything about these callers that were harassing him,
right?
And
they can't do it.
Possibly. Here's another deeper meaning to this. Maybe it was the harassment of the callers,
right?
And he's
that's what I'm saying.
He's thinking no one's taking me seriously.
Right.
I got to do something.
You got to do something, and then
actions speak louder than words. He's thinking,
right? And then these people that are calling in, some of them may feel like they're responsible for it.
Yeah,
right.
So that's the interesting thing.
All right, where would you put the narrator?
I'd probably would.
I can't see him as a Melinda. I tend to lean more towards Charles Watts, to be honest, but I'll put him in the middle because what Dylan brought up. But again, I think
towards Melinda, but not right next to Melinda.
Yeah, not right next to, but like more, maybe slightly towards Melinda, like just.
So if Melinda's a 0 and Charles Watts is a 10, you're putting him like a 5 or like a 4. Maybe?
I would put Dusty in terms of Charles Watts, just because Charles Watts is angry as fuck.
You know what? Actually, in terms of,
I mean. To be fair,
you know what? I don't support racism, and
No.
I obviously don't support a serial killer.
No.
He's going to be a serial killer.
Right.
He's going to go after people.
Right.
But serial killers are smart people. Like, this guy obviously can cover his tracks. Right. He's smart enough to name himself.
In context, he did.
He covered, and he got back at all those people
Right.
who were harassing him and saying, "You're not going to do," because I can imagine what they were saying to him. Like, "You're not going to do anything about it."
Reversed it.
Right.
Yeah, he reversed. So yeah, I mean, in the end, he got him back. But obviously, it's a serial killer on the loose now, killing. God knows, maybe he's still out there.
Jeff the Killer.
No, come on.
And Dusty
Don't
team
even
up. The ultimate crossover.
No, guys, Jeff's white.
Yeah, well, Dusty talks about white supremacy. So.
That's true. And there's nobody whiter than Jeff the Killer. His skin is literally bleached.
Jesus Christ. Dylan, Dusty on the Melinda scale.
I have to agree with you on Charles Watts because
he's closer to Charles
he's
Watts.
closer to
Intelligent.
How the intelligence
And the anger, yeah.
Yeah, and the fact that how he took the situation and said, "Hey, you callers, okay, you want to do this? I'll flip it back on you. Now you can't do shit."
Bang.
I think I like the story more now because of that. Because that whole little
coming to that conclusion helped it a little bit.
I think this happened really. I think this story, not in terms of the context, but in terms of our reaction to it, reminds me a little bit of Mr. Winemouth. How at first, especially William, had lukewarm reactions to it, but by the end, man, we were all on board with Mr. Winemouth after that.
I was listening to that earlier today, actually.
But yeah.
Oh my god.
So
just for reference, Stan listens to the podcast when he has free time.
I fucking love listening to our podcast, and it's not a narcissism thing. It's just entertaining. Honestly.
And if you want to be like Dan, you should also listen.
Comment, and subscribe.
You should also listen to the podcast. Listen to it again.
Yeah,
show it to your family.
If you don't know,
try to scare your friends with Scare Your Friends.
If you don't know,
there you go.
If you don't know what we're talking about, what is it? Episode 10 was Mr. Winemouth.
Shit.
That's all right. Was it episode 10, Mr. Winemouth?
Yeah.
You put the hyperlink into it.
I'm sure I will.
Yeah.
But no, in terms of this story, I would
excuse me.
I don't know if we're gonna do this, but I'm gonna give this story overall like an 8. About an 8. Good, like a 7.5 actually, more or less. But good story. Good idea. Great idea.
6.5.
Okay, that's fair. All right.
This is IGN, just fucking garbage. This game's a masterpiece.
All right. Don't forget, guys, if you have a creepypasta that you want us to read, make sure you send us a link. Send me a link.
Cool idea. I like that.
You can email me at skillfully@gmail.com. You can also
comment box.
We'll put it in the comment box. All right. This has been Scary Friends. Signing off with Dylan.
Bye. Sorry.
Hi,
Dan.
Night, everyone.
Oh, you people suck. I miss William. And this has been
Thank
John
you.
Skillfully. I'll see you in the next one. Take care, everybody.